And we are back for podcast number 12 in a very different setting today as we are officially observing every single law that there is about social distancing. But thanks to the magic of Mr. Ray Kirshner and the absolute grit of Mr. Panchella and I, we have made it happen. And we are now social distancing on the podcast, remote podcast. How you doing, Joe?
Not too bad. Feels a little different, but happy we could keep this thing going. We've done some troubleshooting with it, so bear with us. It obviously won't be the same quality of the MIW, but it feels good to be back, and happy we had got all those episodes in together. But, nice to see your face and Mr. Kirshner's face, and again, bring some normalcy to our lives here.
Yeah, we're about a little over a month into this already, and I get the feeling just kind of, and we're going to have some fun today. Look, we're going to open this up. We're actually going to attack an incredible question that there's no right answer to. And as I prepared Mr. Kirshner and Mr. Panchella for prior to the start, we're definitely going to offend some people today. There are going to be some hurt feelings out there. It's okay. But we're going to name our top five athletes that are either coaches currently in our athletic department or teachers in the high school building. So in order to be eligible to be in our top five athletes, you're either a teacher in the building or a coach in the department. You and I had not shared our top five. We also gave ourselves 3 honorable mentions, and we're gonna roll through that. But I'm starting to feel like as we talk to our students that people are starting to feel normalcy, some kind of normalcy in this very, not normal scenario now. I mean, Joe, how are you feeling?
It's been different, man. I've definitely been getting better at it, but still having those moments. The absence of the student is really the biggest challenge for me. It's what I live for, and to think we'd be in the full swing of this sports season right now, it does hurt. But I'm staying as busy as I can. I'm staying active. I'm staying productive. It is scary how fast these weeks have gone by.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's good or bad, but it does show you you can certainly lose track of time, and you can certainly waste time during this. But to think we're in week 5 is hard to wrap my head around.
Yeah, time's flying. The weekdays feel like they're going incredibly fast because there's still a lot of work to be done. The weekends, I don't know. It's hard to disseminate or differentiate a weekend between a weekday right now. I mean, they all kind of feel the same, but I know that everybody's, a lot of people are using the Zoom app, and it's great to see faces. We're constantly trying to find ways, in our athletic department to hold each other accountable. I know you and our running group got me hooked on the Strava app. I mean, if you're not on the Strava app, you need to get on it. I track all my exercises now, but the best part of it is you can see what other people are doing, and they can kind of comment on your workouts. And it's really been a motivating force in terms of my own physical health and well-being. So,
well, I thought it was awesome that it's been promoted in such a great way. It's something that Mr. McAndrew, Mr. Seeley, Miss Stetson, Mr. Veit have been on for some time now. A free app. We're not getting paid by it, but we should be with the number of members we're about to have join.
Yeah.
But it's basically like a social media exercise, and it's been awesome to see so many students joining over the past couple weeks. That stuff motivates me. The only reason I'm on there is because you flick that thing on and you see that Mr. Morrell did 4 miles in Patsy Court, which I can only imagine how many laps in a cul-de-sac
16
that takes. But it's motivating, and I'll give Michael Griffith a shout out. He's been posting some of his workouts. He's using the laundry detergent for bicep curls. He's using a case of water for his Romanian deadlifts. I just posted a picture today of the shower curtain rod that I've been hooking my resistance bands to, and I absolutely crushed overhead press today. So, it's a stressful and uncomfortable time, but it's been exciting exploring your options and what you can really do with it.
Absolutely. And I think our kids are starting to feel that too. And I want to believe that if you're out there, you kind of went through those first couple of weeks and you were afraid, and maybe then you were a little bit lost, and then you were kind of feeling sorry for yourself. I got to believe that by this time, you should be coming out of that saying, okay, this is the reality of life. Now I need to start making the best of it. And if you're not doing that already, you need to start to work towards that, because this isn't going to go away anytime soon. And it's kind of that fight or flight or freeze response that we heard about in Victory Road just a few weeks ago. And I think right now you got to start fighting and making your life a little bit more normal.
And I think it kind of strips you down to your bare bones and kind of the roots of what human beings were doing. I don't know if the cavemen were hitting weights. They were throwing rocks. Seriously. I mean, the more, if you want to try to break this thing down and make any sense of it, we're being pushed back in time to when things were simpler, and you did have to get creative, where manual labor was your working out. There was no, I can just go to this high-end gym and all this expensive equipment's there. I just saw Adam Kuhn, a world-ranked wrestler who competes in freestyle and Greco-Roman. He's got a 30-foot log across his back, and he's doing squats and he's picking up tree stumps, and and he said, where I'm from, this is completely normal. This is how we train. And I'm not saying everyone has access to that, but there's definitely some things you can pick up and put down and get yourself a workout in. And, if you're fortunate enough to have 2 feet to stand on and are allowed outside, go take a walk, try running, anything, because more than trying to compete for your sport, it's for your mental state, and it's good for your health right now, and good to keep you in some type of routine.
So are you ready to dive into this podcast? I want to come up with something fun. We finished off with the ability series last week and bringing a lot of intensity, wrapping up in vulnerability. Is this something, are we getting ourselves into something pretty deep right now? Is this where we're going?
Yes.
I know you're not happy about it.
I'm sweating bullets. I'm always.
Look, let's preface this by saying we know there are going to be hurt feelings out there. I'm sure we're going to be getting text messages whenever we release this. With people putting up their 1987 college highlight film, grainy VHS film from them playing back in the day. So, but look, we want to have fun. Again, this is something that you can use as a topic of conversation, and sure, and we're excited to hear your thoughts that you can share with us once we should throw this out there. So, just so everybody knows, we did not talk about these prior to. Again, we only made the caveats that they have to be a teacher in the high school building, or a coach in our athletic department. And I'm going to throw you my names these are just people I thought of that I put in the running. All right, and then you can share yours. Pat Valeri, Steve Jacobowski, Mark Dixon, Ray Kirshner, Sidney Ponto, Joe Panchella, John Oler, Jared Beard, baseball guy. He's underlined, also very good 3-point shooter in basketball. Vince Layton, obviously wrestling. Ryan Preziosi, multi-sport athlete in football, baseball, played at UDEL baseball. Brendan Burke, a big-time runner, also played football. Nick Iraldi, 3-sport athlete in football, wrestling, and baseball. James Shields, threw him in there with football and wrestling, then played both in college. Adam DiLorenzo, a collegiate baseball player. Jen DiLorenzo, our head soccer coach, was a collegiate soccer player. Julie Catronbone, Jason Catronbone, our 2 lacrosse coaches. Timmy McAndrew, a soccer goalie and a basketball player. Joel Robinson. Mr. Robinson, down in the science department undercover, was actually a collegiate volleyball player, phenomenal volleyball player.
And just to interrupt that real quick short story, a couple years back, Coach Dixon had just pulled off a walking boot, and he and Mr. Robinson won the volleyball marathon as a twosome against groups of 6s. And you want to talk about spatial awareness and moving the floor? I've never seen 2 gentlemen get after it like that.
Yep, I remember that. Impressive. Rudy Mazoka, our assistant girl soccer coach. Courtney Stetson, who was a collegiate field hockey player at Monmouth. Clyde Folsom, 3-sport athlete in high school, went on to play football at Millersville. And Tim Camerata, our assistant principal of discipline, who I know he was a soccer player and basketball player in high school and played soccer collegiately at St. Joe's. Those were just kind of off the top of my head, throwing them out there. Like, whew. And I can feel like, all right, forgot this person, this person, this person, this person.
I just wrote 10 names down and I already have a list of 50, so I can't even.
All
I
right.
was starting with head coaches and then you just threw in everybody else. I've also got some people that I spend more time with that I know more about, but it's definitely fun. It'll be exciting. The kids love learning about, the people that they're coached by and taught by, and we know that's important, and we know everybody's missing each other. So it spreads some light on how phenomenal the people that we're surrounded by are.
I'll tell you what, it's impressive. When I was putting this list together and thinking of people's credentials, it's pretty amazing. And as you just said, and the way that I put my list together was, I had to be a multi-sport athlete to get on my list in high school, had to be. And I put a big priority or a heavy weight on collegiate success in a given sport. And then I just thought about, like, if we had a decathlon and you and I were the captains of opposite teams, who would I want who would I pick to have on my team for this decathlon to try to win it? So those were the 3 criteria that I used. What'd you use?
I did use collegiate experience as a big criteria based on what I know about certain people. Obviously, I don't know everyone's background, but I also just what I've learned from some of our coaches over the past 7 years, some of the things they still do. I actually took that into account as well. No matter what age group, a lot of our coaches still compete, still train, still work out. And those things to me actually played a big role into my rankings as well, while also considering a decathlon type team. I took that into account because I want some active people out there.
This is going to be interesting. All right, let's start with our honorable mentions. We gave each other 3 spots for honorable mentions. Do you want to go first? You want me to go first? And you got to explain why you picked them.
You're first.
All right, here we go. Mr. Kirshner knows this is good. All right, in honorable mention, third, I have 2 people. All right, so I kind of cheated already, but I have 2 in my third honorable mention, and that's head wrestling coach Nick Iraldi, who was a football player, quarterback, and defensive back, obviously a great wrestler, and also a baseball player. Baseball maybe have been, if you asked him, that might be his most favorite sport, to be honest with you. He still coaches as our freshman baseball coach as well. But being a 3-sport athlete and a high-level athlete at each of those, I thought that he deserved a nod. I think 3 sports is really, really hard. I know he had his baseball career cut short. And then I had with him Pat Valeri, believe it or not. Pat Valeri gets on my honorable mention. He is a sneaky good athlete. Also a 3-sport guy, soccer, basketball, baseball, very knowledgeable in all. Went to Gettysburg to start his basketball career, didn't finish. But he's a guy who, like, when you're picking teams on the side, don't let him slip by it. He was on my rough touch football team back in the day, back in 05, before he pulled a hammy. And I think he could still probably shoot with the best of them. He's got a great 3-point shot as well. So those are my 2 guys in third. And then
Just to interrupt here, but just a quick Mr. Valeri's story. When he hit the soccer ball in the upper 90, scoring a goal, nearly broke his ankle, but walked it off like nothing was wrong. I think the ankle was 4 times the size of the other one. Drilled the ball, no big deal, and just walked it off, played it off like nothing was happening. So I'd have to agree with you there. That's a sneaky honorable mention.
He's going to be all about himself after he hears this. I don't know. My second honorable mention would be Tim Camerata, actually, who I think in his heyday back in Heights, he's a Haddon Heights guy, very proud of his Garnet roots, obviously incredibly knowledgeable about athletics, but he, in his prime, was an outstanding, to go play soccer at St. Joe's University and be a standout there, and also a very, very good basketball player. I know back in the day, they used to have a lot of faculty games, getting in there and grinding out, and he's just got he's outstanding on the basketball court. So he'd be my second runner-up in the honorable mention. And my first runner-up in honorable mention, I had her in my top 5, bounced her out late, as I'll explain later. But another under-the-radar person, Juliet Lancaster. I know people are like, well, Hall of Famer, West Everett Hall of Famer. Coach Lancaster holds swimming records and the girls' shot put record for distance. Is it shot put or shot put? And maybe javelin too. Definitely shot put. But Coach Lancaster is also world renowned and holds records, world records in grip strength in her female weight class. So if you don't know what that is, go on YouTube, YouTube some grip strength stuff. I mean, she could grab two 25-pound plates side by side. Try to grab two 25-pound plates side to side with just your thumb and forefinger and hold on to it. It's unbelievable what she's capable of doing. And yes, it's competitive. And yes, she holds national records in grip strength. So she is currently our head swimming coach, assistant track coach, and she is my first honorable mention in one of our best athlete category.
I had her as number 2 on my honorable mention just because I am blown away. And if you still, I mean, she's competing in that grip strength currently. If you wanted to compete against her in a track race, throw the javelin, throw the shot put, throw the disc, swim some laps in the pool.
Yep.
She'll put you in your place real fast. Just an awesome, awesome individual. I've seen some of those videos. I mean, she's grabbed just think about a baking wheel that spins and is that wide. She's actually grabbed her hand around that and lifted 225 pounds off the ground to a certain distance off the ground, which is just absolutely insane.
Absolutely. All right, who do you got?
All right.
Your honorable mention.
My honorable mention. I also have 2 names at number 3.
How about that?
They're my guys, and I got to throw them out there. It is going to be Mr. Seeley and Mr. McAndrew.
You can't just throw people in because they're your running partners.
Listen.
There better be some strong backup for why, because you're going to leave a lot of people off this list. Go ahead.
You know anything about bowling? Is bowling not a sport?
Bowling is 100% a sport, yes, and tennis, and Mr. Seeley is very good at both.
There you go. Thank you very much. He also happens to dominate on the academic side of things and being well-rounded student athletes. He cracks the number 3 honorable mention, being that he still is a consistent 210 to 225 average in bowling and can hit 1 million feeds on the tennis court without hitting the net once, as he has 60 players on a girls team and 60 players on a boys team, and doesn't bat an eyelash as he continues to operate at a high level. And that's why Mr. Seeley makes the list.
Respect. How about Timmy McAndrew?
Timmy Taters the Flash McAndrew can run a marathon on a Sunday, dunk a basketball on a Monday. Big time soccer goalie, highly competitive guy, very motivated and inspired guy. Maybe he doesn't have the college accolades or Mr. Seeley as well in terms of athletics there. But in terms of how I view them and what they can still do and are doing, they definitely make the list, not because they're in my run group, but because they really, really can get after it. I mean, if you've watched Mr. McAndrew play pickup with the freshman basketball team,
very competitive.
It's no holds bar, and he goes right at it. The guy has run multiple marathons, has completed 100-mile weeks. He's only getting better with age. Threw down a half marathon at a 6:43 pace last week during a 100-mile run, 100-mile week. And I love hearing about his competitive spirit. In fact, we were on the run today, and we passed Scout Field and Haddon Field, and he immediately brought up the heartbreaker of a breakaway goal that he let in front of 5,000 people that still eats him up to the day. And it just so happened that we were talking about this in the afternoon, and there was no doubt he was going to be on my list.
Yeah, that's a really good pick. He's another one that kind of comes out of nowhere. He'll be in like an ultra marathoner guy. He'll be like that before all this is said and done. He's got that drive in him.
If you want some motivation on Strava, you just make sure you follow Timothy McAndrew and just see what he's putting down, because he's going for 105 miles this week, and he's right on track right now. He's got 45 miles as of right now as we speak, 15 a day. All right, number 2, I had Coach Lancaster, Coach Lanny, who I'm still so impressed by. She's still up on the record board. I know from West Deptford High School. She's got some swim records. She's a West Deptford Hall of Famer, I believe.
Yep.
again, still competes in the grip strength. If you've gone out to the track and field, she 100% can still throw any object and throw it further than most students. And again, competition and competitive spirit really played a role in this for me. And she comes off as the ultimate competitor, and you can see that fire in her eyes as she puts the girls through weightlifting, runs a whole swim team, and just loves jumping in on any activity.
Agreed. And your first honorable mention?
1,000-point scorer, young man is on the rise, teaches in the building, coached the JV boys basketball team this year. At number 1 honorable mention, Mr. Justin Hansen. I bet you didn't even have him on your list over there.
You know, he's single sporter, correct? Yeah, single sporters take a hit on my list. They can't get on my list playing one sport. You just can't. I got a ton of respect. If we were playing 5-on-5, he'd be one of my first picks.
I've got him on there. I'd keep him on there. But I love Justin. I think he's done a great job. Went on to go to Gettysburg as well, like Mr. Valeri. Ended up giving up basketball, but just nice to have him back around and seeing his name up on that 1,000-point scoring list and still giving back to West Deptford High School and those students is pretty cool.
All right, let's go 1 for 1 here. All right, so you tell me so now we're in the top 5. This is a prestigious honor being in our top 5. All right, number 5. Who's your number 5?
Number 5, I have. Oh, I switched it. Oh boy, Coach Sydney Ponto.
You know, she was on my original list. I had her in the top 5, and then as I started putting my list together, she kind of just. But certainly, and just a recent Hall of Famer as well. Go ahead, give us your thoughts on Coach Ponto coming in at number 5 for you.
Coach Ponto, ferocious competitor, both in field hockey and softball. Obviously, she coaches both sports at West Deptford High School and played both of those sports, went on and played collegiately, softball.
Caldwell University.
And if you remember a few years back, she actually threw a perfect game at the collegiate level to wrap up a phenomenal pitching career at the college level, but also an excellent field hockey player. She was a name that jumped right out to me, especially with that perfect game in the back of my mind. Achieving that is pretty spectacular, as Mr. Kirshner knows, when it comes to baseball and softball. Agreed,
and I feel like she's one of those athletes that could have potentially played both sports in college. If that was like a real thing, I know very few people do that, but she probably could have gone either way, played either one in college. So that's a great pick by you. My number 5, also a female coach in the building, or coach who's not in the building. I'm going to put Julie Catcherbone in my top 5. And let me tell you, she's number 5 for me. Washington Township grad, 3-sport athlete at Washington Township in soccer, basketball, and lacrosse, and then went on to play lacrosse in college. And I just think at a big school like Washington Township, that's a high level of competition. And you know Coach Catcherbone as well as I do. And you talk about fiery competitor. She is someone that I would want on my team. I don't want to line up across from Julie Catcherbone. Let me put it that way. I'd rather have her on my squad. And her competitiveness just makes me feel, and her ability to play 3 sports at a big school and then play collegiately, I just think that she really brings that athleticism across the board. And be able to kick the ball with your feet and use an implement in your hands and be good at both is really impressive to me. So she comes in at my number 5. Number 4, I'll go first. My number is, we got tough, top 4.
Yeah, I feel sick to my stomach right now. I've got like 12 more honorable mentions as this episode.
Yeah, not everybody can get a trophy, all right? Number 4 is our head baseball coach, John Oler, because high level, played at Audubon, all-state baseball player at Audubon, catcher. Also a very, very good basketball player. When Audubon was very, very good in basketball, and then went on to Old Dominion to play baseball at the Division 1A level. And I think once you're a Division 1A athlete and a multi-sporter in high school, you have to be in the conversation somewhere. And he's just that type of guy that can pick up any implement and make it look normal and natural. Like, I feel like if he played soccer, he played football in the fall, he probably would have made that look pretty simple too. I've seen him on a basketball court, a lot of athletic ability.
It's a quality pick. It's a quality pick. I had him on here. He won't get mentioned, and that's so brutal.
Who's your number 4?
Number 4, I have Mr. Prez.
Ah, very similar argument to Oler.
Absolutely. World-class gymnast coming up, building that strength and foundation, which really helped him excel as a baseball player. I've actually seen some clips of him through high school and in batting cages, and you're just blown away at the torque and the rotation. You know, as a baseball guy, when I saw some of that, I was like, boy, this guy's the real deal. Went on to play at Delaware. Again, a guy who could throw running shoes on and go run 10 miles or lift weights with you. He's learned a ton about wrestling, as well as his boys come up through the ranks. And to me, just a very complete athlete, well-rounded athlete, who still stays in shape and gets after it.
Also a standout football player at Haddon Township.
See that?
Yep. Number 3. Who's your number 3?
Oh boy, where am I at? Whew, single sporter. Number 3. Whew, I'm shook now. Shook. I'm gonna go number 3 is Mr. Clyde Folsom. Because Coach Folsom.
I am speechless right now. I mean, he's one of the greatest mentors, if not the greatest mentor in my life. But I'm gonna let you argue for him. But I'm
I
shocked.
mean, I'm gonna include his coaching along with this. But like you said, a 3-sport athlete who went on to play at the collegiate level, who coached football for over 30 years, a well-known figure who can still beat Mr. Morrell in badminton, horse, and any other PE game there is. I'd have to put him up there as one of the legends of athletics, and it'll be a name that will live on forever. I feel like I would be doing Clyde Folsom a disservice if I didn't have him in my top 5.
This is not a coaching top 5 though. This is a look. If I'm turning 37, he's turning 37. We go 1-on-1 in the basketball court right now. It's a push. I'm not good, right? You know what I'm saying? No, but I hear you. He actually has a ton of athleticism, much more than you would think, and an incredible baseball player as well. A phenomenal baseball player from Mainland High School back in the day before going to Millersville, to have an incredible career there as a football player, and certainly warranted in the conversation. Shocked that you put my number 3 is the guy sitting on the other end of this conversation, Mr. Ray Kirshner. So an outstanding wide receiver at Gloucester High School. How about that? Many people did not know. He is a football guy. He's got football ties.
Only pegged him as a baseball player.
And then obviously, one of the best baseball players in South Jersey and in the state during his time, went on to pitch at Georgia and was a part of and pitched in national championships and their national championship team in 87, 89, 90, sorry, doing this back in 1990, but certainly guy who, another person, if you're going into a decathlon and you want to do a bunch of different things, he can pick up just about any implement, including a bowling ball, and going back to Mr. Seeley, and make things look really easy for a person. Like, I bet you if we took a football right now and you went on a football field, you could probably throw a football 65 yards in the air right now. You know what I mean? And a wide receiver at Gloucester. So he's my number 3. I mean, it's hard to beat a national champion pitcher who also was a multi-sporter in high school. So
he'd be a top two pick on my decathlon team. The guy can do absolutely anything. You need a house built, he'll build it. You need something wired and videoed, he'll do it. Ultimate competitor, cards, cornhole, bowling. He's the real deal.
Yep.
I don't even have him on the list because I don't know what to do with this list anymore. But
who's your number 2? Is that real number 2 now, right? Folsom was your 3, right?
Number 2, Mr. Steve Jacobowski.
Wow. Whew. Stevie J coming in too, man. Go ahead. All right.
It is not because of his middle school staff versus student basketball game skills. because he loves beating up on 11-year-olds. It is phenomenal soccer and baseball player, 100 hits for the Eagles, went on to play soccer at LIU. Again, another guy who's competed in marathons and actually qualified for more challenging marathons. I believe he qualified for the Chicago Marathon by putting down a time in another marathon. Obviously, as becoming a runner, I look at those things and I see what impressive feats those are. I believe Mr. Drummond actually qualified for the Boston Marathon or got close, which is insane as well. But having become a runner now, I really appreciate those types of times and what people can throw down, and still in great shape, can compete with the best of them. I know plays in the competitive men's soccer league, and to me is one of the all-around best athletes I've ever been around, even though I pinned him in wrestling.
Oh, so true. That's tough, but true. My number 2 is Coach Mark Dixon. Coach Dixon is just simply one of the great, most phenomenal athletes. Like in the pure definition of the word athlete, is one of the best I've ever seen. Obviously a standout football player for West Deptford, and then on to Westchester University where he played collegiately, but could do anything. Like if we had a true decathlon, he would win, because he can do every single event and has done every single event in his lifetime in track and field. And then you just add in any phys ed game that there is, and he's just absolutely unbeatable. Volleyball, pickleball, anything you do, hockey, he's the best at it. And when it comes to a competitive fire, there's simply nobody that has more of that competitive fire in them in anything that they do. He's the true example of if he was playing his grandmother in checkers and felt like she cheated or he lost, he would be miserable for weeks until he got a chance to play her again.
Well, you just summed up my number 1.
Yeah, that's your notes.
Is Mr. Mark Dixon. Since I've met him 7 years ago, I've just been blown away by what that guy can do. And any single thing I've watched him do, he can do it with grace, with style. He understands mechanics. He understands body energy. I'll never forget when he was telling some of the young football players, you see that guy in front of you? Well, you just start doing what he's doing wrong, because that's what I did at Westchester, and I just started climbing the ladder. A student of the game, continues to learn about the game, best calves in the game. The way he can pick up on movements and strategy and use that to his advantage, he's truly a student of the game. And I think our student athletes can learn from someone like Mr. Dixon, who, isn't even 6 foot. I don't even know if he's 5'8", but took the good things he did have and learned everything else he didn't know about it and used that to his advantage to get better than those that were bigger, stronger, and faster than him. I mean, to me, he's the epitome of a well-rounded athlete. Again, he'd be my number 1 pick in a decathlon any day of the week.
Also a Hall of Famer. And we flip-flopped our 1 and 2. I had Steve Jacobowski as my number 1. And the only reason Steve Jacobowski is my number 1 is because his brother Tommy does not coach baseball for us anymore. Because if Tommy was still here, Tommy Jacobowski would be my number 1. Let me make that clear. However, I just think to echo what you said earlier, not in much more detail, but, Stevie is just an incredible 3-sport athlete that continues to do it. And he's one of those people, again, who could probably play any sport and make it look easy, regardless of what it was besides wrestling, obviously. But so that's our top 5 right there. We know we heard a lot of feelings, and there are probably some people very angry right now, but if you're angry, let us know, and let us know why you should be in that top 5. We would love to learn about the athletes that we have walking around the halls of West Deptford as teachers and coaches. So that's going to wrap up this version, podcast number 12, with our top 5 employee athletes. Mr. Panch, thank you so much for joining us again here from a distance, and thank you to Mr. Kirshner for making this become a reality so we can keep bringing some juice home to you folks that are dealing with with this pandemic as we help you get through it. We'll see you next time.